Hello, 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 everyone. I am Dr. E. Jean Pemberton. Welcome to my video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this video, then you are preparing to defend your dissertation. And before I get started with my steps towards preparing for your defense, I want to say congratulations to you. I am so excited for you. I'm so proud of you. You have gotten closer towards the finish line. You're not quite there. You're not quite there, but you are heading in the right direction. So you have put some blood, sweat, and tears into getting to this point of defense. And that means you have exhausted all avenues, all areas to get to the point where you are able to defend your dissertation. So I just want to provide you with a few tips that helped me as I was preparing to defend my dissertation when I was in my last doctoral program. And these tips really helped. These steps helped me as well. And I was successful and was able to defend. And so I want to share with you a few tips that I have that is also going to be part on posted on my website, and I'll give more information about my website as well. And also, it's going to be published in my book. So, before I get started with that, the one thing I want to tell you to do is, first of all, to breathe. I want to say breathe, breathe, breathe. I know that you are exhausted. I know you are ready to get it finished. I know you're ready to get to the finish line, and you have done a lot of great work. A lot of great work. And so you are almost there. So feel good about where you are. If you are at the place where you are able to defend, which means you have a date and all of that information, and I'll go over that in just a little bit, then that means your committee feels comfortable with the work that you presented to them and they have given you the green light. So congratulations to you in getting the job done. Now, let's talk a little bit about the defense. And I don't want to assume that you've gotten through these other steps. So I want to make sure that you have. The first thing we want to make sure, if you are getting ready to defend your work, your dissertation, that you have already received your approval from your committee and your committee chair, as well as your department chair for whatever department that you're receiving your doctorate degree from. So those are the key things that you need to make sure that has already been done and approved. You received your approval from. Again, first of all, you need to, before you go to your department chair, you have to make sure that your committee and your dissertation chair has approved your work and they're saying it's a green light. So hopefully you've done that. And I'm definitely going to be posting videos on how you can get to that step if you are watching and you're not quite there, and maybe you're going to be a fall graduate, a summer graduate. I will post some videos, a video as it relates to getting to that stage of dissertation. All right, so I'm going to just think and believe that you've done that. You have presented your paper, your research to your committee. Your committee has shared with you whatever updates or any types of corrections that you need to make, any types of adjustments. And let me say this. When your committee and your committee chair, which I hope you can trust them to give you valuable responses as well as feedback, if they recommend for you to make any type of changes or adjustments, as long as it's not content, I don't want to say not content related, but as long as it doesn't take away from the heart of your research, make sure that you do that. That's important because uh, I've sat and watched some colleagues that have defended their research, and the committee chairs as well as the committee members provided some recommendations for them. They did not follow through with that recommendation, and some of them they were able to get approved, but they had approval with some stipulations. They had to go back and do some changes and some adjustments. And so it is important for you to listen to your chair and your committee, because remember, they have to sign off, right? That's the key thing. They have to sign off on your work. And so they're not going to want to put their name on something that they don't believe meets the matrix, the basic matrices for your university, as well as their name is on it, right? So they want to make sure that your work is up to par, because these are the individuals that you're trying to get on their level, right? You want to get on their level. So Now, if they try to take away from the concept, that's a whole nother situation. And of course, you shouldn't be at this point. If that's the case, you should have a whole nother set of group of people that believes in what you're looking at and what you want to research and add value to the knowledge, the body of knowledge. But if they provide some recommendations, some key things, especially I see a lot of times recommendations come into the methodology, the explanation of the methodology. And I've seen people put their feelings into the paper instead of some facts. They put more emotions and feelings instead of facts. And again, I don't want to get into the details of that because that's a whole nother video, but just make sure, let me just say this, make sure that whatever recommendations was given to you, you discuss those recommendations, make sure you understand what they're saying, make sure they understand where you're coming from, and then follow through because you don't want that to be your Achilles heel from getting your defense approved. Okay, so that's the key thing. Now, so let's get back to the point that you have received approval from your committee, you've received approval from your dissertation chair, and they have reached out and sent their approval to your department chair. And so your department chair has given you the green light. Everybody's giving you the green light. So now you should have a date, right? You should have a date as it relates to when you are going to defend your work. So now, hopefully that date is where you're able to defend either in person or via Zoom. Not for sure for me. I was in person, which I was appreciative of that, but I was also able to have it via Zoom because one of my committee members was in another city. He was at another university, and so he was part of the Zoom. Also, I was able to allow other people to watch me, attend my defense. I don't say watch, attend my defense via Zoom and in person. So that was pretty cool. So you want to check with your chair to see if that is okay with your university, if you can have other people attend your defense because you're gonna need the amen corner. That's gonna be important. Okay, so and it's kind of cool to have that door open. So it all depends how that is set up. But okay, so you want to have your date. You want to make sure that you understand the protocols. Is it via Zoom? If it's in person? I don't know where you are, some programs or distant programs. So of course it will probably be via Zoom. So, but if you are in person and you're at a physical location of your university, they may have an option of hybrid where you can do both Zoom and in person. So you just want to make sure that those things are in place so that you can have those ducks already set up in the row, in a row. Now, the key thing is once you receive your date, once you understand where you're going to have your dissertation via hybrid in online only or in person. And if you can invite someone, you can create like a little invitation. That's what I did. I created an invitation to send out. If you can, go to Canva. Canva is your friend. You can have a free Canva account. If you are not employed like with a nonprofit organization or university or school, I'm employed, I'm an educator, so I'm employed with a school district. So I was able to use Canva, but either way, have a very nice flyer put together where you can have on the flyer, which is what I had on my flyer. I had my name, of course, a picture of me, and I had the title of my research. And I also had the faculty members who were on my committee. Of course, I had the university as well. So what I did was I had the title, and I have it in front of me just because I couldn't remember everything. I had the title of my research. I had my name. I had the submitted to the faculty of Southern Methodist University of Dallas, Texas. That was my most recent degree that I received, and impartial fulfillment of requirements for the doctoral degree, XYZ. And then I had under that the name of my committee chair and my committee members. So that's what I had as my invitation. And on my invitation, I also had a Zoom link when I was given that link and the date and the time and the location. So those who wanted to attend via Zoom could attend via Zoom. Those who wanted to come in person could come in person as well. So a nice little flyer. But again, you want to make sure before you do all of that, you have all of your protocols in place. You find out if that is permissible with your university, because each university does things very, very different. Okay. So the next thing you want to do, and I don't want to say next because you could do them either in order, however, but the other piece you want to do is create a PowerPoint presentation or a Google slide, either way. That is going to be very, very important so that you have a visual, a visual, a visual. And this is where, if you are not really good at this, you can keep it as simple as you want it to be, or you can be as creative as you want it to be, but you want to have a snapshot. My Google slide was probably way too long, but you don't want it to be more than 20 minutes, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, if that, because you want to leave enough time for questions to be asked. Okay, so let me go backwards a little bit. Find out how long will you have, how much of a time slot you will have to defend your dissertation. Okay, that's important. And so if they give you 30 minutes, then you need to do your presentation in 10 to 15 minutes. If they give you an hour, you still don't want to do more than 20 minutes. You know, you want your presentation to be to the point, short and sweet. I think I did about 20 minutes. And so that's typically about the time. Usually it's about 10 or 15. I did 20 minutes. It wasn't too bad. But again, I had a PowerPoint presentation. It was very colorful. It was very impactful. And so you just want to do the best you can. Okay. So now if you're not a PowerPoint person or a Google Slide person, please have someone put something together for you. And it doesn't have to be extremely colorful, but you still want it to give the type of professionalism. You're a doctoral student, so you want it to present yourself the best at your best level. At your best level, that's the key thing. Because again, you want to get out of ABD status, which is all but dissertation status. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about what I included in my PowerPoint Google slide. Okay, and I say Google slide because they're interchangeable and for that. But of course, my first slide was a title slide, which was the title slide of um, my research and my name, the university's name, and again, the list of my committee members, my committee chair, and my committee members, and make sure you have their names spelled correctly. Triple check, double check, extra check, and have someone else check. Okay, that's the key thing. The next slide that I had was I had a thank you to my committee chair, committee members, and my department chair. I just thanked them for their input, their insight, their partnership, being there for me from when I started to getting to the finish line. And it took me a bit of it was a challenge to get to where I was able to finish. So I said my thank yous to them first and for this opportunity to be able to present. And then my third slide created like a brief overview, which was like an outline, bullet points of what I was going to discuss. It was 6 different sections. I had a section for the background of my research, the objective of my research, the lit review. I talked about that, my methodology, my data analysis and findings, and then my conclusions where I brought everything together. And then my fourth slide was I would say it was my jump start. It was my banger. Okay, so it's really up to you. My first 2 slides, or probably 3 slides, were bangers. The first one was like lights. It was like trying to get everybody's undivided attention, including my committee members. Okay, including my committee members, because of course they have lived this research with me, but I wanted to get them at the edge of their seats. So and I have a little bit of radio background and conversation. I'm a preacher. So, I wanted to get their attention quick. So I did that with my first slide, my first 3 slides, as a matter of fact. And so my first slide was just words only. My second slide had an image with different points out. And I'm not going to show it because it's mine and I don't want it to be copied until because I'm waiting on some things, but I am going to put it out there one day, but it's not out there yet. But it was just my first 3 slides was just really to get their attention. And I had kind of video emojis going and all kinds of stuff. So I was doing the most. But after that, I went into the background. Okay. And so in the background, I created my, presented my introduction with my statement problem, my problem statement. Okay. And so you should just be able to pull that right from your introduction, chapter 1 of your dissertation. And that was the why. Okay. So I focused on the why. Why am I doing this research? What's the background behind it? How did I get to this point where this research would add value to the body of knowledge. Okay, so that was my slide. And then I gave some data information about my research as it relates to what I found in my research, some data. So numbers are always good. You cannot go wrong with numbers. Make sure when you put your numbers out there, you also post the credit where you got your did your numbers. I did something from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Mine was on research retention, and so that was my research was on retention. My hands are going all over the place because I'm sitting out talking that. So I'm calming down a little bit. I'm sorry about that. But I did throw out some numbers, and numbers are really good. This was something that I learned when I did my presentation for other audiences before I got to this point. Like I did a presentation for just kind of when I was in abstract status and maybe chapter 1. And I saw how people were gleaning on the numbers. And so numbers do matter. And you definitely want to have something that's going to bring some factual connectivities, because this is what we call supportive evidence of what your research is all about. Okay, so it's very, very important, strong supportive evidence. So, and I continue with that. So the next couple of slides, I gave different things as it relates to data, and I also included, of course, the research where my research came from, my data, my numbers came from as it relates to the research. Then I went into the objective and the lit review. So my lit review, I just gave my lit review for my research paper. I had it broken down into different components. So I did a very quick review on the historical context and used my bullet points for my subtitles for my paper and did a conversation from that. I did a historical context synthesis on interdisciplinary fields of study because that was inclusive of what my research project was. It was interdisciplinary. I talked about the strengths and the weaknesses of the availability of literature for the research project, and then again, the historical context and the theoretical framework. My theories, again, was based on retention, and I used Herzberg's two-factor theory for my theoretical framework for my research. Then from there, I did a little bit of unveiling some of my historical context and did really a quick snapshot of that. Now, I had a picture on that PowerPoint, and part of that is because some of the historical data I was able to go and visit. And so I showed a picture of me there physically visiting. And so that really, really helped. Now, if you're not at a place where you went to visit, at least you can show something connected to that, to help you with the historical data. So that's going to be something that's really, really helpful. Again, pictures give you kind of a little bit of flavor. And again, because your committee have been baptized in your information. So when they see pictures and when they see data and graphics and stuff like that, that brings down it's not become, your page dissertation. Based on theories. For me, I presented several different theories and what they were about as it relates to my research and why I ended up going with one particular theory. So there were a couple of theories that had some similarities that could have been used for my research, but it wasn't exactly in line with what I was trying to accomplish. So I talked about the different theories that were available and leaned into the one that I chose and why I chose it. So I gave two other theories that aligned with what I was looking at as far as my research, but I talked about a little bit about the theories and who used those theories. Of course, the originality of the theories when the theory was established, who established theories, and the purpose of the theories. So I did that as well. But then again, As I moved in, the third theory that I presented was the one for me that worked for my research and what the benefits was to using the theory that I chose and selected for my research or retention, and it was retention of employees, of faculty members. All right, so now I talked about the significance of the theory that I use, the criticism of the theory, because every theory should have a sense of criticism. Even your research will have criticism. So be okay with that. That's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. That means that somebody's looking at your information and they're going to either build upon it, expand on it, or they're going to criticize it. That's just part of being in this level of education. So I talked about the significance of using the theory, Hertzberg's two factor theory. I provided and presented criticisms, and then I also presented companies and research that used his theory, and so that to justify and solidify why that theory worked for me. And then I talked about methodology. I gave the research design, the data collection process, and the data interpretation process. I also, in my data collection, I did have to get IRB approved. And I said I'm going to do a video on my process, and I'm definitely going to do that, present that information. But I had to go through IRB approval process. And my research was a mixed methods. So I did a mixed methods convergent design. So I took a little bit about the background, the history. My data interpretation process I used was SPSS, which was established in 1968, and then qualitative data that I used was in vivo. So those were my two data interpretation processes that I use to interpret my data for my research. The next thing that I did with my methodology is talk about the validity, reliability, the ethical consideration, the assumptions, and those things are real, real important and critical, especially when you talk about that in your lit review. And so, and in chapter 2 and chapter 3. So those were the things that I talked about. All right, so now the conceptual framework was also discussed, and I actually created a diagram of what I used. It was the source that I came from, that I used my diagram from, which was Creswell and Creswell. If you are in research, then most of you probably already know who they are. And so I used a diagram and to help me to build and to collect my data, to analyze my data, and to interpret my data. And so I used their diagram to be able to build upon that and get the results that I needed for my research. The quantitative data analysis, I talked about that. I collected quantitative data via electronic survey questions. And so I listed just a snapshot of what those questions were and how they fit into my research. And then my qualitative data analysis, I did informal interviews as well, a snapshot of what those questions were and how they fell into the different categories of my research. And then I shared my findings from the quantitative data and the qualitative data, and then my findings when I merged the data together. That was another PowerPoint, another slide. And then I had a slide on findings from what my findings were and how they were categorized. And then I also plugged in numbers of my interviews as well as those who completed the forms. So those numbers, again, remember I share with you, those numbers brings the facts. Those are things that are true and does not change. So that's really, really important. And so I had it broken down by ages and based on ages and categories of the ages and the questions that they answered and they responded to. So those are some of the data that I included as well. And again, continued with the findings from that. So I had the findings from my quantitative data, findings from my qualitative data, and then let me see, uh, and then I had the research of my data that was merged together to create my theme. So I'm not going to share my theme yet because I've got to finish my writing, my my book, and I'm still working on the publishing of my research paper. But I did come up with 4 themes. I think that's very important that after you do all of this research, that you come up with your own theme that you can hang your hanger on, your hat on. And this is what you probably, for the rest of your uh, doctoral life, your post-doctoral life, you start doing some research to make that theme come to life. Okay. So I did have a theme, and with that theme, my I was excited about that. I was excited about creating a theme and really profiling that theme. I explained my theme and talked more about it and how I came up with that, my theoretical relevance for my theme, the theoretical implication of my theme, and then the human experience relevance and implication of my theme. So very, very excited about that as it relates to each theme. So there were 4 different themes that I came up with. But I had one umbrella of a theme that had 4 different categories or 4 different sections, and each one had a theoretical relevance, theoretical implication, and a human experience relevance and implication. Then I had my summary and my conclusions, contributions towards the for my research, what my research would contribute towards. There were some limitations that I also discussed as it relates to recommendations for further research to, expand more on what I found, some of my findings, and what um, I could do better, with more time. And I have more time now, so I will do better. And then I also have created my own framework for my retention strategies that I would send out to stakeholders for retention strategies that I think will be very, very helpful as well. So again, once I get everything published and ready, then to be out there for everybody to see. So those are 2 things that I came up with at the end for me was my own framework as well as my own theme. And so again, that's another video, that's a whole nother thing, but I did present that for my presentation. And then I talked about my next step was in scholarly work. My plan again was publishing articles from this dissertation and using my research to further study retention. All right. So, and then I did my thank yous and I wrapped it up and I was exhausted, and that was the break. That was it. So it was I had a lot of different slides, but again, I did it in 20 minutes. I practiced, and but I took my time, make sure I had everything that was there. Now, once you put your presentation together, my recommendation is that you practice in front of either colleagues that are preparing for their dissertation presentation or for individuals who have already presented. I was going to say send it to your committee chair, but it all depends. Some may want to see it. Okay. Um, I don't remember if I did so or not. I might have sent them like 10 of the slides, like the basics of it, but not everything. Or I'm not sure, I don't remember. So I don't think I did it or not. So anyway, but if you don't have to, if you feel more comfortable doing so, absolutely you want to do it to make sure that they're good with it. But I will say practice in front of someone else so that it's going to be helpful. They will ask you some very good questions, that I think will be beneficial to you and will help you. You don't want it to be your first time presenting to your committee. You don't want that to happen. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend that you practice in front of someone first that you trust that will give you valuable feedback so that when you do your official presentation, you can feel a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more comfortable. It's still going to be intense. I'm going to tell you that, but it's still, that opportunity, it takes the newness off of it a little bit because then sometimes you may have something misspelled, something moved around a little bit. And when you do your presentation in front of someone else, you may even say, oh, let me make some adjustments in this area. So that was helpful for me to do that as well. And I've done that for other people. I've been part of Zooms where individuals have asked a few of us to go on the Zoom and they presented in front of us and we provided some feedback. And it was helpful for them as well because I was able to watch them go live and they used some of the feedback that we had to be able to present. So, all right. So that is the preparation for defending your dissertation, the first thing I want to tell you, well, the next thing I want to say the first thing, the next thing I want to share is you know your information, okay? It is yours. You did it. I hope you did it, okay? So if you did it, it's going to just come out of your system and just it's going to come out because you have studied, you know this information. And so are you going to be nervous? It is very possible. Was I nervous? I was just absolutely nervous, okay? But I'm telling you, once I got through my thank yous, I was running through it like a train, and you could not stop me. But I was at a good pace. So that's the other piece too. You want to go at a good pace. You don't want to go too slow, but you don't want to go too fast either. So find yourself a good pace. That's why I say it's good to practice in front of someone else. Now, I want to share this before I wrap up this video about preparing after you're there and you're getting ready to you have your date. Make sure that your presentation, if you're using your computer, that you download it so you can use it whether you're online or offline. That's important. Okay. I don't remember if I did that. I don't think I did it. So that was that was a mess. Okay. I should have, but I didn't. But I got there early enough to make my adjustments. So now my presentation was in person, and I think I got there like 2 hours early. So I was there early enough to say, okay, just in case the Wi-Fi is not working, just in case their system is not working, just in case my system is not working. It was just a lot of little just in case. So I got there really, really early. I wanted to make sure I knew where my room was. I wanted to make sure because we had to use their equipment that I could send my information over to their equipment. I wanted to make sure that everything I had was charged. All of my backup stuff was taken care of because we did have some glitches, but the glitches were resolved before it was time for me to get started. So the one thing I downloaded, I did download my PowerPoint, but I had to make a change, and so the change uh, didn't do right, but I was there early enough to catch it and to fix it. So it worked out. Okay, so that's the key thing. You want to get to your location early enough so you can practice to make sure everything's connected, that your slides go smoothly, and that you can breathe. Okay, that's important for that because we did have some glitches with their technology. My technology was all kinds of stuff that was kind of weird for that. So definitely, if you're in person, do that. If you're not in person, just make sure you have yourself in a quiet place, a quiet space. Nothing is happening, no distractions, right? Make sure that all of your devices are, you know, charged up. You don't want to Zoom anything. And I'm going to say this because of the way the world we live in today and every day, even if you're using a computer, if you can, make sure you have a backup plan through your phone or an iPad or tablet, just in case. You just never know. You just never know, where you need to have extra Wi-Fi. Like you may need to make sure that you're at a place where there's a Wi-Fi on your phone that you can use or something else just in case Wi-Fi is acting really weird. You just don't know. So because you don't want anything to create um, extra anxiety, right? You're already going to be intense because you're presenting. So just have yourself at a good space. The other piece, and I want to wrap this up, is to make sure that you're dressed professional, okay? No matter how they're dressed, no matter what other people say, dress professional. I wore black, okay? Blacks. I had a black dress, but it was professional with a jacket. So you want the focus to be on your information, and so I'm not trying to tell you wear black. You can wear whatever you want to wear. Just if you wear white, if you wear flowers, whatever you want to wear. But at the end of the day, this is remember you're doing an interview, right? You'll be an interview for getting out of the ABD status. So just make sure you are dressed professionally, right? So that's the key thing. So, and I'm talking to my sisters and my brothers, the men and the women. So just make sure that you are dressed professional because you're coming into a new world of being a doctor, whatever your name is. And so just have your best foot forward, dress professional so that they see that you come in meaning business. Just come in with that type of air that you mean business and make that thing happen. Okay. So that's it. I wanted to share that with you. I want to encourage you. You are here. Congratulations. And I'm so excited for you. Now, if you are a person and you don't have anyone that you can present in front of and you would like that to happen, I don't mind doing that. And there's no cost. I'm not going to do that. I don't mind you reaching out. Many of you have already probably presented, or this is the month that you're going to do so. And so you can always reach out to me. My website is endaseducation.com. I have it spelled misspelled down there, but it's endaseducation.com. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to fix that while we're on the call right now. So I'm going to hit that while I said we're on the call. I'm going to rename and make sure I correct it so you can see that. There we go. So that is my website, endaseducation.com. If you go to endaseducation.com, you can send an email, you can request if you want to do a time where we can do a presentation. Then if I'm available for you, I definitely will work on helping you and listening to you and provide you with some feedback. My time is a little limited because I am teaching. I teach days and evenings, and so and it is a full season for me as well, working with individuals, helping them with their dissertation. But if I can, I would definitely be out there to support you as well. So anyway, that's it. That's all. I wanted to give that to you, and hopefully this video will be very, very helpful for you as you are preparing for your dissertation defense. I know you got this. I am praying for you, and you're going to do a job well done. All right. And then we'll be on the other line and we can say, congratulations, Dr. So and so. Okay, we'll have more videos coming up on how you can get to the finish line as you are preparing for your doctoral degree. Thank you so much again. For more information about what we offer, what I offer, my website is endaseducationgroup.com. That's endaseducationgroup.com. God bless.